The sanctions that the UK has placed on 4 Israeli settlers accused of human rights abuses is the right sort of sanctions, in contrast to the ridiculous sanctions which were used willy-nilly against Russians, which were the wrong sort of sanctions. We need to use sanctions very carefully. The sanctions against Moshe Shavit, Yinon Levi, Zvi Bar Yosef, and Eli Federman will result in an asset freeze, a travel and a visa ban. Perfectly the right sort of thing, very focused, and it sends out a very clear message to the Israeli government that the settlement plans are inappropriate, and certainly when they're accompanied by violence. Setting up Zvi's farm outpost in 2018, intimidating his neighbors, the local Palestinians, threatening people at gunpoint, threatening young families having a picnic, and the fights which Eli Federman has apparently had with Palestinian shepherds on the South Hebron Hills. It's a very exposed experience being a shepherd. I was a goat herder for a while in Greece. I know exactly how exposed it is, and you certainly don't want people threatening you. Yinon Levi, who set up Me'aterim Farm in 2021, destroying the property of displaced Palestinian communities. David Cameron has said that the sanctions place restrictions on those involved in some of the most egregious abuses of human rights. We should be clear what is happening here. Extremist Israeli settlers are threatening Palestinians, often at gunpoint, and forcing them off land that is rightfully theirs. This behavior is illegal and unacceptable. Israel must also take stronger action, put a stop to settler violence. Too often we see commitments made and undertakings given but not followed through. Extremist settlers, by targeting and attacking Palestinian civilians, are undermining security and stability for both Israelis and Palestinians. This is at a time when Benjamin Netanyahu is under pressure to pull back from his offensive against Rafah and to get down to negotiations. I think that the clock has ticked out, and there's pressure now also from Joe Biden not to conduct another military operation in Gaza until there is a credible, a realistic plan to protect civilians. I don't think that's going to be produced. I think this is now a clash of personalities, and Mr. Netanyahu is going to have to climb down. I don't see how that's going to happen. I don't see that it's in his character. Mr. Netanyahu is consumed with a sort of obsession about his brother and about his position in Israeli society, which, other than being seen as a war hero who got back the hostages, or at least who destroyed Hamas, he is otherwise a failure who allowed the terrorist event to take place on October the 7th. His lack of security is something that has been repeatedly condemned in the Israeli media. Of course, the idea that this was somehow allowed is absurd. It was foolishness and a failure in security that let the Hamas terrorist event occur. It certainly, I think, I don't think we can say that it was a contrived event, no matter what the conspiracy theorists are suggesting. That is abhorrent. But I think it is equally shocking and equally alarming, and I'm sure Netanyahu is very, very much aware that he let the side down by not paying proper attention to security. And if indeed there was a warning from Egypt about Hamas's plans. Those warnings weren't heeded. That doesn't mean, of course, that they were willfully ignored. It simply means that they weren't taken seriously. That's a different category of offence, but it is an offence, and Netanyahu has let down the country. And I'm afraid in his military zeal and his determination to forge ahead with the invasion of Gaza, he's let down the country a second time. This could not and cannot be successful.